What's up, y'all? Goofy Rexy here. Hope everybody is doing well. And we're back to that time of the month again where we're going to be doing a roster review video of my roster here. Usually we like to do this, like I said, every single month. Talk a little bit here about what I'm sort of working on in the context, right, of what's going on in the game. I'm going to talk about a couple different topics here. So G16, right, just completed Dark Dimension 5 for the second time. I'm going to talk about who I'm going to be prioritizing here for G16. Who have I already built up or already put some G16 gear on after my completion of Dark Dimension 5. Also want to talk about priorities when it comes to sort of investments on your roster, because there are some of the G16 recommendations probably are going to tie into some of these different game modes like arena, like raids, maybe even scourge teams, and of course definitely a legendary horseman team. So we're going to discuss that here as well. I'm going to talk about where I am right now in terms of preparation for Apocalypse, right? Like what team, where are my current Darkhold and Unlimited X-Men team? We'll talk about that as well. And some of the stuff from the blog that was mentioned before that will definitely dictate how I build my roster. Saga thoughts, you know, how was my experience with the Pestilence Saga? What are my thoughts on the future Famine Saga that's going to be coming as well? And probably even just sagas after that. We'll talk about that. ISO Blue 4 is also another thing where I've been getting a lot of questions on, like, who do I ISO Blue for first? We're going to talk about that as well. And then some other things, right? Like I'll talk about my Cosmic Crucible teams and, you know, my prep where I'm at right now for War Scourge. We'll go into some of that stuff as well. So let's actually dive into it and go into the roster here. So Dark Dimension 5, right? Like I said, just got Dormammu here, completed for a sec. Well, got my big Dormammu, my big daddy Dormammu. Had baby Dormammu before, so we finally completed and got a 7 and 4 Dormammu here. And my initial like knee-jerk reaction was, okay, I need to upgrade some characters here to G16, but I did kind of slow my roll a little bit and wanted to think a little bit more methodically about what I wanted to do. And because I was slightly unsure about exactly what direction I wanted to take here, I kind of only upgraded 2 characters, right? Or I think it was just 2 characters. So obviously, I think the biggest one that made sense to me was let's upgrade my Darkhold team. They're an arena team. They're a team that I'm using in a lot of different game modes right now. We had the Pestilence Saga. I'm like, okay, it makes sense for me to upgrade these characters because I know that, number one, I'm going to have to upgrade them because they're a part of the Legendary Horseman team, right? So I'm going to have to upgrade them for the future Apocalypse Saga and the remaining of the Pestilence Saga. So it made sense to kind of just put that gear into them. And definitely I'm seeing and I'm reaping the rewards for it right now. Definitely with Doctor Strange Heartless for sure, and Wong. Agatha was already there. Morgan was already there as well for Dark Dimension and also for Arena. Scarlet Witch, I'm still kind of holding. Man, listen, I don't know. I can't do it yet, guys. I'm not ready. I'm not mentally or physically ready to do it. I know that I'm gonna have to do it, but geez, man, I just can't do it. She's just not what I expected and wanted her to be, so I'm kind of just holding off on that right now. But that's really kind of all I've done. So Wong and Doctor Strange Heartless were literally the only characters that I brought up to gear tier 16 after I was done with my Dark Dimension 5 run. Now, who am I probably going to be prioritizing that gear with? I think for me, my thoughts are, listen, let's go with the Legendary Horseman teams. I think I'm just going to be holding off a little bit because I'm going to talk about raids a little bit. I'm going to talk about scourge teams a little bit here. But I think out of the concern of not having enough gear, I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing my Legendary Horseman teams, right? So I want to, there's the Gamma team that's going to be coming out next month. Part of the Gamma team's coming out this month or this patch. And then we know we're going to be getting Red Hulk, right, next patch. So I kind of want to hold off a little bit on spending some of my bio gear, right? Mutant gear right now is going to be allocated towards a limited X-Men because we know that the Saga is then coming out, you know, next, right? So speaking of Unlimited X-Men, let's show you kind of where my Unlimited X-Men team is right now. So they're not really beefy or built up. I did, of course, G16 Rogue. This actually happened before Dark Dimension 5 was done for my second run because I actually used Rogue on my first run of Dark Dimension 5. So she was already at G16. Gambit I also did early as well because I had some extra mutant gear because I didn't really use a lot of mutants in Dark Dimension 5. I only used Emma, I used Rogue, there was Omega Red, and that was pretty much just in Magic, and Magic was really cheap, so I had extra gear that I could use at the time for Gambit. So this is kind of where my Unlimited X-Men team is right now. Obviously, I'm going to have to build this team up a little bit further along the way, because when I'm thinking about the Saga, right? So the Pestilence Saga, we'll kind of dive into that a little bit now. Like the Pestilence Saga, right, was kind of fairly easy. Was not easy at all, right? When I looked at the requirements for the Pestilence Saga, we thought, okay, for difficulty 2, 5 Dark World characters at gear tier 15, we thought that was going to be enough to be able to get it done, right? We were kind of sorely mistaken. We hopped in. I already had my characters at level 88. I didn't have G16 on Wong or on Doctor Strange Heartless as of yet. So I kind of jumped in. I thought, okay, well, we're going to be fine with our gear tier 15 characters. And we struggled a little bit. I think it took us maybe 3 attempts before we were actually able to get through that last node. And then a 4th attempt in order for me to be able to actually 3-star. But I know that there were a lot of players that did not have that great of an experience going through the Pestilence Saga, that probably had less stars or only had their characters at gear tier 15. I had a couple of G16s. I had Agatha. I had Morgan Le Fay. Like I had a couple of characters there that were kind of beefed up, that could kind of get through it. So therefore the experience just wasn't that tumultuous for me. So I don't know, if I'm looking at it, assessing it this way, I'm thinking that there's a potential chance that the Famine Scourge could probably be very similar in a sense. So you might need some G16 characters, right? Probably Rogue and probably Gambit at least, to be able to sort of kind of get through it. Those are my thoughts. At least the difficulty 2 section of it. Difficulty 1 was kind of okay, I think, depending on where your roster was. But for difficulty 2, probably did at least need Rogue and Gambit, and maybe even Sunfire, because Sunfire is a significant amount of damage to her. Maybe Dazzler, because Dazzler is a little bit of your sustain and so your control as well. So it's really gonna all depend, I think, upon that. But to be fair, the Pestilence Scourge event was harder than the Famine Scourge event. So there's a possibility too that the Famine Saga event may actually be easier than the Famine the Famine Saga event may actually be easier than the Pestilence Saga, right? So we'll have to see kind of how that works out here. I will say this too, like the sagas are permanent events, right? So I mean, you kind of don't have to force yourself to do it right out of the gate, man. I mean, I know that there's like this FOMO thing where it's like, I have to do this thing now when the thing is released. But in reality, no, you don't. You can kind of wait. If you want to prioritize upgrading some other things on your roster, maybe you're not ready for raids, whatever, maybe you upgrade those characters first, and then you kind of come back to and put your G16 gear on your Unlimited X-Men team. That's sort of the direction that will go in. So yeah, for me personally, this team is going to get a little bit of upgrades here. Phantom X, unfortunately, will get some orange gear on them prior to the Famine Saga, which we're probably thinking is going to come out here next patch, I believe. But some other things, right? So Arena obviously is an area where you're going to want to invest your G16 characters, but Darkhold, Dormhold, that's going to kind of take care of that anyways. Future Red Hulk is probably going to be a part of the Arena meta, especially with that synergy that's going to be there with the other legendary Horseman characters. So that's going to make sense. But what about raids, right? Like, what should you prioritize any of your raid characters for G16 gear? And I think that it all depends on where you are, right? So for me personally, we're doing Doom 3.1 right now. I'm having some challenges where that is concerned. Now, some of my characters are already at gear tier 16 because I use them for Dark Dimension. I still think characters, for if you're looking at bio, like Web Warriors, make a lot of sense. My Web Warriors right now, I use 3 of them for Dark Dimension 5. I will be honest with you. I'm gonna say this, like Scarlet Spider is actually better than I thought that he was. I think I wasn't using him correctly the first time I went through Dark Dimension 5, but on the second run, really found a good way to be able to use him to extend buffs. He also helped out with a little bit of the healing for Spider-Man and then also for Ghost Spider. So in a lot of ways, Scarlet Spider was actually a lot more helpful than probably what I gave him credit for initially here. But I probably wouldn't go with Miles and Punk or whatever. I wouldn't G16 the entire team. I think you're probably going to maybe want to prioritize levels on them. But yes, I would say that some of the characters you're going to use them for Dark Dimension 5. And also on top of that too, right, you're using them in Scourge for the Pestilence Scourge. That's going to come back around again. So being able to kind of use them there too, if you haven't already upgraded, does sort of kind of make sense to at least maybe pluck out 3 of these characters to use them for Dark Dimension 5. You're going to get the benefit from them here in raids, and then you're also going to get the benefit from them in Scourge as well. So you're kind of killing 3 birds there with 1 stone. Skill is all set. Yes, I have a couple of G16 characters already. Kestrel, definitely a standout character for Cosmic. She was great. Captain Sam, I think I just like him as a great utility character, so I think he's a good Dark Dimension 5 character and a good character for G16. Sharon Carter, maybe some people don't want to do this, but I find her to be incredibly helpful in Dark Dimension 5, and she's also great in raids, right, for skill raids, so that makes sense to me. Shang-Chi, great as he's just an individual, just goodness, he's just so good as like just a damage dealing character, provides some healing too, so some good utility there. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't done Maria Hill, I probably wouldn't have forced my way there. If you haven't done Sharon Carter, I probably wouldn't have forced my way there. The only ones that I would probably even recommend for G16 at this point would be Captain Sam, Kestrel, and probably Shang-Chi. But if you did Sharon, I wouldn't hate it. If you did Maria, I wouldn't hate it, but just be careful because we don't know if there's going to be a skill team. For all we know, the next Legendary Horseman team could be a skill team, right? Although we think the rumors are that it's going to be Archangel, but yeah, I mean, you're kind of going to have to go based on what you're currently doing. Maybe prioritize levels first instead of G16 gear on them, because maybe you want to prioritize Legendary Horseman teams as opposed to trying to go with some of these characters here. For tech, I think Bionic Avengers, I think will be okay at level 90 gear tier 15. I think Iron Man is the only consideration that I would have right now for maybe G16 gear. Eventually, this thing is going to scroll down, and then you're going to be able to see my Bionic Avengers team and where I currently have them so far. So I have the 2 new characters at level 81 gear tier 15, the 2 old characters at level 181 and gear tier 15, and I use Kestrel with them in the tech section of the Doom raids as well. It's going okay. I mean, the sustain is not there. They don't have Hulkbuster. The full team is not there, so they're not going to perform the way that I think we wanted them to. From early thoughts, I don't know if they're going to be like Web Warriors. Not for Doom 3 raids. I think Doom 3 raids is a completely different animal than what Doom 2 raids were. And just right now, I don't feel like the Bionic Avengers have been as impressive. I'm not going to say that they're a bad team. I think it's just a lot of it. Also, keep in mind too, right? My Deathlock's 3 stars. My Viv Vision's 3 stars. Right? The Hulkbuster's not here. They're not getting the extra barrier and stuff that gives them the sustain. They do fine with damage, actually. Really what it is sustain. They're not really able to tank a lot of the hits. But like I said, I think that once they get the barrier, the extra max health from Hulkbuster, I think this team will perform differently. But just right now where they're at, not having the full team, they're just not the well-oiled machine that they should be at. But I think that this team was going to be a team that may be good at 85 and 15, may be good at 90 and 15, depending on how the higher rate content that you're doing. And maybe as you potentially start pushing to like 3.2, 3.3, maybe 3.3, 3.4, maybe you consider G16 gear at that point, probably after you've already done like your Legendary Horseman team. Maybe you consider Iron Man, but Iron Man is gamma radiation, so that may be a little bit of a tough one to go with. Although yes, he is a legendary character, but that might be kind of a tough one. Mystic right now, I think is fairly easy. We got Dormhold. That's kind of autoing these Mystic Doom raids right now. I don't think you really have to worry about that there. If you don't have Dormhold, if you already had new warriors, you can manually play and get through the content with the new warriors. So I think that you'll be okay where that is concerned. What am I thinking here for your for Mutant? Mutant is still something that I haven't figured out yet. I don't know if I'm the best person to comment on my experience with Mutant. So the full Axeman team works for node 1. What I've found to work for node 2 so far is this team down here, not with magic. This team right here has worked for the second node. It can get a little tricky, a little iffy, but as you can see here, like Rogue is at G16, so Rogue is there. She's a good legendary character. She's a very good plug and play character. So this is work for node for the second node. For the third node, I just haven't figured that out yet. The last node, the mutant boss node for Doom 3, is just really kind of tough. So for me though, there's a question on whether or not we're going to be getting another mutant raid team with Archangel being a rumored character. That could be a thing. So I would probably hold off and maybe wait a little bit before maybe upgrading the rest of your X-Men, just to see what the next legendary horseman team is going to look like. If we're not getting a raid team, then probably kind of move away from that at that point in time. Scourge teams are also consideration, right? We talked about Web Warriors. Squirrel Girl is a good character for G16 potentially. Hulk and Iron Man we talked about, but Iron Man's Gamma. Hulk is Gamma as well, but he's also part of the legendary horseman team, so using him probably for like your global section wouldn't be a terrible direction to go in here. But that's pretty much it. In regards to where am I at for Apocalypse right now, you saw my limited X-Men team. You saw my Darkhold team here. They're pretty solid. My Darkhold team is ready to go. Unlimited X-Men definitely needs a little bit more investment where that's concerned. There's other things to consider though, right? Like in the blog post, they talked about this in the Apocalypse Saga, that you're going to need all 4 horsemen, their respective teams, and they talked about several additional characters. So I do think that prioritizing, that's once again why I said like prioritizing just your legendary horseman teams for G16 first, then secondary probably going with your raid teams, your arena teams, and then plucking out some characters for maybe some Scourge teams here might be the good direction to go in, because ultimately we don't know who these several additional characters are going to be. We're hoping it's going to be some raid characters, maybe even some Scourge team characters that you already have built up the gear tier 15. But that's something to think about, guys, as you start planning for your roster. We just don't know where that's going to be as of yet. So those are my quick thoughts. But ISO Blue 4, legendary horseman, I would say for ISO Blue 4, not the entire team. You will need the entire team eventually, right? But I would say at least initially, just do the legendaries, like so Morgan, do Rogue. Don't do what I did where I feel really dumb for doing this. So this is the reason why I'm going to talk about it, so that you guys ultimately don't make the same mistake. So I was a little iffy on what ISO I wanted to use for Rogue. I did Striker at first for her. So I have Striker at level 4 right now, and I'm using Skirmisher for her in Arena, and I equipped the crystals, and then I said, man, I don't have the 450 to get her all the way up to 415 at the time to get her all the way up to 4. But I also thought to myself, I'm like, I just doubled down on one character for ISO floor, and we're not getting the crystals, the ions, right, at the rate that I would like to be able to do this. So don't double down on it. Just pick one. If you're gonna go with another class, just leave it at 3. Don't equip the crystals on 3, because I feel like this was kind of a waste for me personally. I wish that I hadn't done this. Yes, Skirmisher is better for Arena, and I'm getting the benefit from that by being able to land my debuffs on the Dormhole team, primarily Agatha. But it is such a scarce currency right now that if you're unsure about it, just kind of wait. Just don't waste it, because you are going to need it later on. And I think primarily your legendary horseman teams are going to be the direction and the way to go. But let's kind of wrap up some things here, talk about some other things. So Cosmic Crucible, where am I at right now for like my Cosmic Crucible teams? And I'll talk a little bit about this here. So I'll show you what I'm using on defense, and I'll talk about why I'm using it on defense, why I'm using certain things on defense, and probably some changes that I'm going to be making here. So Cosmic Crucible, this right here, room 6, I don't feel like I'm going to change this. This has actually been a team that has gotten me a couple wins so far. I actually swapped this out in my last Cosmic Crucible, and for the very last attack, because I wanted to go more attack than defense. And I took this team out, and I actually probably cost me the last matchup there. I could have probably won all 3 matchups. I only won 2 if I had just left this room here, but this works really well. Grouping, smushing, sandwiching Doom in between Maria Hill and Shang-Chi, giving him ability energy, can pop off on turn 1. Also doing the same thing with Shuri so that she can give defense up multiple times. There's speed up here. You're getting a lot of stuff. And of course, whenever they get deflex, right, if they get hit, then of course Maria Hill is also going to be able to then heal them too. And if they get below 50%, Shuri's going to throw up those deflex, which is definitely going to benefit Maria Hill being able to heal the rest of the team. So This actually is a really tricky comp that I've actually gotten a couple of wins on where people have had to go in and hit it multiple times. So I'm definitely going to be keeping this comp here moving forward. Young Avengers on defense for me actually aren't performing as well, and I'm going to take them off of defense now because I am realizing that I could actually really use them against some big Wakandan teams. And I could definitely get more of a benefit there. So therefore, I am gonna take this team off of defense. I'm gonna put them on offense. Who I am gonna throw on defense is probably gonna be Weapon X. So there's a comp here, Weapon X with Zemo that actually. So I forgot who you take. I think you take out Wolverine. That works actually really well on defense. There's the counters for that comp. Is mostly. By the way, check out Dorky Dad's video. That's where I got that information from. So that's a really good team here. A lot of the characters that you would use or teams that you would use to beat this are cosmic, so therefore they'll get kind of hurt there. This is kind of just. Listen, I'm not using Scarlet Witch on defense. On offense, I'm using Dormammu. I have my home team on offense, so I'm kind of just using this here as sort of a way to kind of take advantage of the Mystic amplification. Scarlet Witch can extend the negative effects that they throw down, which then of course will then speed up Ghost Rider and then speed up Morbius as well for them to be able to go. So it's kind of just one of those fast teams. I could replace Scarlet Witch probably with a character like Moon Knight, but then if I do Moon Knight, I'll probably want to do like Blob there too, right? So that he can take advantage of the deflect. So there's a couple of things that I can do in this room. I'm not entirely sure. I could also put Dr. Voodoo here too, like whatever, right? I don't want to put Dormammu here because I want to be able to use him on offense. Here, I'm actually going to be swapping this around very soon too as well. I'm going to go with Uncanny, another recommendation, Uncanny sort of X-Men team that I'm going to be putting here as well, because I don't need my Uncanny team to be able to beat Web Warriors anymore. So Web Warriors can actually be beaten by Bionic Avengers. So I'm going to be going in that direction to use my Bionic Avengers against Web Warriors now. So therefore, I am probably going to throw my Uncanny team here with X-Men on defense, and then we'll figure out something to throw here on defense as well. I don't know exactly what that will be yet, but we'll figure it out. This team doesn't really get any sort of wins at all. It's just kind of whatever I had left for mutants. Longshot, Shatterstar just don't do that well outside of their war, getting their war buff. So it kind of just is what it is. And then yeah, Web Warriors are pretty good on defense. It's one of those themes where it's more about hurting a player's efficiency. Sometimes they might get a win, a dub, right? So it helps out a little bit there, but that's pretty much basically it, and nothing really crazy where that is concerned. But that's pretty much it for me. We talked about what I'm going to do with some of these rooms here. For offense, if you're curious to see what I'm using on offense, I'm mindful of the video. This is a little bit of a long one here, but and to talk about what I'm currently using on offense, this is what I'm using here on offense. We're using let it load up. So Weapon X is the #1 team here in terms of just power level. Actually, I think that's wrong. I think my Dormhole team is not bigger than that. But Weapon X, which I said I'm going to throw on defense here. I'm going to take Wolverine off and then throw him. He's going to go on defense with an Uncanny team and X-Men. He's going to go there. I'm going to throw Zemo here, and I'm going to put them on defense in probably room 5. Infinity Watch, they beat a lot of teams, so it makes sense to keep them. Eternals with Zemo, honestly, this is kind of overly stacked. I could take Zemo off of this team, throw him on defense. I could even throw Emma probably on defense somewhere too, or use her offensively somewhere else as well. I really like Loki, Cersei, Icarus. Like, that's probably enough, but yeah, I'll probably keep Emma. Definitely take off Zemo here. Maybe just throw Hela or something like that there for offense. Dormhold, I keep them for offense. Uncanny, I use against Web Warriors. This is basically a cleanup team if I get into some dangerous places there. This is like a comp that I'll use in rooms 1 and 2. This I use against Unlimited X-Men as a mirror match with Cable. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple different things that we can do. Like I said, Weapon X probably will be I'm a little slim on offense, but I actually usually get 50,178 or 50,180 or whatever. Like I usually get over 50,000 points because I sit down, I see what teams where I have to fight on defense. I sit down, I come up with the comps, I write them down, and then I go in and attack. So I kind of plan out my attack, so I'm usually fine where that is concerned. So that's pretty much it for Cosmic Crucible. Let's talk about War Scourge really quick and kind of wrap up here. So where am I at for War Scourge right now? So for War Scourge, I'm gonna go with Hero Asgardians. I'll show you kind of where my Asgardian team is right now. Unfortunately, they're not really built up because I'm prioritizing building out my Bionic Avengers team. Once I'm done with my Bionic Avengers team, I will start to putting some investment here into the Hero Asgardians. My Mighty Thor, my Valkyrie, they're gonna start to get some work as well. So we'll probably build up Valkyrie, Mighty Thor, Thor. We'll get them probably decently big here. We'll probably get them all to at least gear tier 14, probably Heimdall and Sif to 14, and then we'll probably bring Thor, Mighty Thor, and Valkyrie to 85 and 15 because they're going to be my main team. There's Hulk, who I'll probably build up a little bit. I might actually G16 Hulk, although I probably want to prioritize Braun. But my G16 Hulk there. I got some extra bio gear also for Red Hulk, so I think I have enough to probably be able to bring up 2 G16 characters. So Red Hulk and probably Braun are going to be my priorities for the Gamma team there. And then we'll see what we got from there. So Hulk maybe an 85 and 15 character, and then there's also Iron Man as well, right? So we'll probably use Iron Man, Hulk, and maybe some other characters here as a sack for whatever that node looks like. So that's pretty much it, guys, in terms of preparation and where we are right now. You guys already saw where I landed for Rogue for the Famine Scourge event. So yeah, this was a long one, guys. We had a lot of stuff to talk about here at G16. We talked about Pestilence. What are your thoughts on all of it, guys? Any questions that you have, of course, anything that you want to suggest, that's also, something that I'm open to as well. But listen, guys, appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell so that you know when the videos do go live. And until next time, guys, y'all be blessed, y'all be safe. Bye.